Okay, y'all, I think I'm back. I got a work call. I hope y'all come back, Hassan and Out the Blue. Um, but in the meantime, I'll just speak. So I changed the title, basically like, and I didn't want to make this about religion because I agree with what Hassan said, which is that that's something that people have to work out on their own, whether they are going to be religious, whether they're going to become religious, whether they're going to leave religion behind. That is something that people have to work out on their own. And I don't really see the benefit in, you know, debating that or talking about that. And that's not really what my aim is, in the coming years, as far as my journey in accumulating knowledge and learning about the world around me. So, but since that is kind of what we were talking about, I wasn't sure how to kick off um, my journey as far as like, you know, how to introduce it. But I think that's a good point. Oh, yeah, the boxing scholar. I got a work call and I need to learn how to mute and, do stuff while I'm muted, but I didn't know how. So, I mean, I could have just muted, but I kind of panicked. So, I ended the live, but I'm back. So, if you want to come back up, I know you don't have to because I saw you left, but yeah, so I was basically saying that um stop saying and stuff like that. So I was basically saying that religion or the absence of religion is a personal journey, and I don't think it's really fruitful to debate about that because I think that it's something that, oh yeah, let me do that. I think the choice, let me see. I think it's a personal journey. And what I mean by saying that it's a personal journey, what I'm saying is that the I know a lot of times, well, most of the time, whether we are religious or what religion we are is actually influenced or, mostly controlled by um how we came up, like how we were raised. But at the same time, different resources are out there, resources that have to do with a particular religion or resources that might lead you away from religion. So I think it's a personal thing. And what I mean by that is when I, in order for me to get to the place that I am today, it involved me deciding that I wanted to learn more, and know for myself. And I don't think that's wrong. You know what I mean? And how I became more comfortable with the idea of looking into it more deeply is, like I said before, we have knowledge, what I mean? We have intellect, we have the ability to formulate questions, we have the ability to research and test and things like that. And I think that if we weren't supposed to use that, then we wouldn't have that, you know? So it's kind of contradictory to um subvert science to religion or subordinate science to religion. Yeah, it's contradictory because if we didn't have the ability to go out and gather information and to formulate questions with our advanced minds, right? Then it would make sense to rely on a book. But even if we have a creator, there's no way. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully I'm making sense. Yeah.
Uh, the argument that you're making, Chuckle, I feel like has always been the debate. Like people don't realize that there are like really good scientists out there who are
Hmm.
in fact religious. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be either or. I
True.
feel like you should embrace science because it works. It's all around. We're on a phone talk. We could talk to somebody in Asia right now from a
Right.
telephone through satellites in the sky. Like
Hmm.
we exploit our natural environment through science on the daily. and they
Mhm.
don't always have to like they can coincide. They don't have to be one of the or the other. But I do get what you're saying. You're saying how could rational minded human beings discuss something so like what do you call it? Like so prehistoric. You know what I
No,
mean? 'Cause
well, I'm sorry not to interrupt you, but that's not exactly what I'm saying. But I don't know if you I could interject or I could you let you finish. I'm sorry, I'm new at this, but what I'm saying is we have okay, so let's just say with our eyes, our minds, our hands, our ears, everything else, we have the ability to look at different sources of information and to assess them and to evaluate them, to test them and things like that. So I think that zoning in on something that you basically what I'm saying is the dogma part is to decide that hey, we're going to choose this one thing and we're going to ignore like any other evidence that we come across. And that's what I was saying, it kind of doesn't make sense to me just because assuming we have a creator, right? Our creator felt like we should have the faculty to he bestowed on or he she whatever bestowed on us the faculty to um uh observe the world around us and to understand it. You see what I mean?
yeah, I,
Is
I,
that
I
not? Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree that God gave us the senses to use in our everyday life, and we've
Mm-hmm.
taken those senses and I mean we're traveling through space, which is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. But like I don't like I said, I never subscribed to the idea of that you can't be scientifically literate and also be religious. Like I said, they're not conflicting. I
I
get
hear
what you're saying. Like how how could a person that knows the like for instance, right? For instance, if you look at life, it is beautiful, right? Like everybody looks at like art and like a sunset, they'd be like, oh, this is so beautiful. But on the flip side of that, if you look in the animal kingdom, it's a lot of sexual assault, a lot of animals eating their babies and stuff
you.
like
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's like, how could you ignore all the bad stuff, but only look at the good stuff? But it's like I think that's just the human experience, Chaco. I think that, you know, for instance, like Denzel, right? Like we look at Denzel in a good light. Denzel started revealing that he had all kind of drug addictions, and it just messes with your paradigm of how you view the natural world around you. Like it would be like finding out your dad is not a hero or your mom is not a hero. You get what I'm saying? It just
Uh-huh.
is easier to hold on to something that doesn't necessarily affect your life like negative overall than it is to just embrace it. Because in life is hard. You need something to stand on. You can't battle everything you got to battle in life sitting and saying. You need a
Mm-hmm.
solid foundation. So a lot of the stuff that we view like our paradigms is from like us wanting to stand on something solid while we battling the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you brought up an important point because I think the way I came at it was really black or white, so to speak, because there are high level scientists that are religious. And honestly, like when I come across them, it actually gives me hope. You know what I mean? It gives me hope because I feel like, well, he knows every or she knows everything that she knows and still believes that there is a creator. You know what I mean? So um I don't know because I'm not the type of person. Okay, so honestly, this is how I feel about it. I really hope that there is a God. Um I really do. It like me separating from Christianity, it was not a happy time in my life. Now I've never been super religious. I've never been, like that. But to think that we're just here alone, that's very discouraging. And just to know that um certain wrongs will never be made right, there are certain people that we're just where everybody else we're just not going to see him again. That is scary and it hurts. So me separating from Christianity, it wasn't a it's I don't want to say it was a choice. It was more like a realization. and it was not a positive realization. Um, so I'm not like, basically, there was one guy, he told me that he was actually a Muslim. But he said that he would be relieved to find out that there is no God. And I was like, why? To me, that would be like a great loss, right? But he said because he wouldn't have to worry about like all the things that he has to worry about as far as like being a Muslim. You know what I mean? I guess like all his obligations and praying and just feeling guilty about different things. So I don't know. I think everybody looks at it a different way, but for me, to come to that realization, it I considered it to be a loss.
So to the Muslim guy, I think that that is absolutely golden. That you have a Muslim guy who hopes that he's not right
Well,
whenever
no,
he passes.
he didn't say that he hopes there wasn't a guy, but he said if he found out that there wasn't, that it would be a relief. That's what he said.
That's still kind of contradictory to
Yeah.
the religion that he chose. But I will say that the and I said this on Taylor show. This is how I know sometimes I be dropping seeds. They would disagree with me, but later on they'd be like, oh, he making some sense. But I
Mm-hmm.
said that I realized, the basically the laws that we have in America were modeled after the Ten Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
The commandments were for their time, and we live in a different time, so they had to
Mm-hmm.
make it more modern. That's why we have so many amendments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, and just me being an adult and watching the most like gruesome, like people, in my profession, that people are really, really fucked up. And
Mm-hmm.
if there were not laws, they would do whatever the fuck they want. So shame
Mm-hmm.
will always be an effective tool, and laws will keep people from doing stuff. Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if they made a murder legal tomorrow, I guarantee the purge would be real. Like people act like that's just a movie. Like they would definitely start purging the streets if they could get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I realized that. You know what really let me know that, Chaco, with the when I have discussions about what do you call it, like age appropriate stuff, like like when Floyd was talking to the 19-year-old and he's 49 years old and she's 19, and I had these conversations, they always say, well, it's the
It's
law.
legal. You're
And you
right.
just like, wait a minute, what? So if the law lowered the age, you would be like, yeah, 15 is okay. It's the law.
Exactly. Exactly.
But real quick on the Muslim guy, when he said
Mhm.
that, I
Right.
understand what he's coming from, because what he trying to, the meaning that I got from it
Mhm.
is the sins that you do right on this earth. So in this earth, justice is blind. Sometimes you pay the people, the higher ups. If you know somebody, you can get away with certain things if you have the money or the people.
Mhm.
In our religion, the Lord's not gonna you're not gonna pay the Lord. Let me get away with this. So
Right.
you'll be punished according to your sins. So when he said that, I'm relieved. It's like somebody, like the stuff that there's no such thing as a perfect human. We all understand that. But I
Uh-huh.
see what I get the meaning when he said that meaning. You know, does it make
Um.
sense? I mean,
Uh,
you understand what I'm trying to say, though, right?
Not really. No, because you said that you can't. You said that you can't pay off God. To me, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a wonderful. Yeah, of course, it's a
Yeah.
good.
So
I'm
I'm
saying, I'm
yeah.
saying in the on Earth, in human, right? If you do a crime
Uh
and
huh.
you know people in high positions, you might get away. They might let you get away with it, or they fake. Oh, he's going to prison, but you're really not going to prison. You just pay the right people.
Okay.
So justice is blind, no matter even in average people. You don't have to be in politics. Like somebody does something bad because I like him or her, I'm gonna be on their side because I like them. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Even though I know they done wrong. So justice is blind and on this earth.
Mm.
In the afterlife with the Lord, no, there's no such thing as justice blind.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be judged on your actions, on your deeds that you've done in this world. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Um.
So I think the opposite, Chaco. I think that even if I passed away and I found out that I was going to hell, I would be more relieved that this wasn't the end and that my family or whatever could still have a life after this life. So even if
Mm-hmm.
I go to hell, like I would still be like, oh, thank God it wasn't all for nothing. You know what I mean? Like it was an experience that led to, like, it made sense, this whole thing. I would
Uh-huh.
be the opposite. I'm willing to bet that dude who said that probably did something that he really, really regrets in his lifetime,
Oh,
and the religion was like a not a pacifying, but it was like a let me get right and try to correct the actions. But I think that that guy definitely, with that conflicting viewpoint, he probably did something pretty heinous.
oh, dang. I don't know. He was pretty young. I don't know. He's a married guy, young married guy. So I don't know. But yeah, I did think that was interesting because I think, I mean, I would think most people who are believers, I don't know, y'all tell me what y'all think. Do you think most people who are believers or who were former believers or want to believe, do you think that they look at God as a source of comfort or as a judge, or somebody that is basically like in charge of meting out punishment to you? How do you feel about that? Because I mean, I think I looked at God as a source of comfort, and reassurance. But I mean, now I'm seeing that some people look at God the opposite way, like,
I
hey, well, I
think
can't do this because that guy is there. He's watching me. You know what I mean?
I think it's more nuanced than that. I don't think it's just one thing. I think if you believe in a superior being, you're gonna use like it's gonna be everything. Like if you do bad, you're gonna be like, dang, God watched me do that. That I feel bad about that. If you
Mm-hmm.
do good, it could be like it be a double edged sword. It could be people justifying doing bad acts to people. We see it all the time where like I mean, we see this a lot. You don't want to get political, but they justify all their actions through God, like, oh yeah, we need to go do this to this country because
Mm-hmm.
we're wielding the hand of God. You're like, what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, oh, that's another question. That brings me to another question. Um, that I was going to ask earlier, but and once again, no offense to you, Hassan, no offense to religious people, please.
No,
But
it's all good. You're good.
all right, do y'all think that religion is a shortcut? So for example, is it like a way of being lazy instead of you um reasoning through either the world around you and the arguments that are presented by science? You don't have to wade through all that. You just have something telling you what it is. And the same thing with morality, like ethics. I'm pretty interested in that. I'm interested in getting into ethics, just learning more about that. Is it a shortcut? Is it a way for you to take the responsibility of yourself to do what's right, by you taking a shortcut and saying, hey, what I'm going to do is what's in this book? You see what I mean?
Well, I think also I think that not necessarily that it's a shortcut, but we're all born into society, and we all have innocent viewpoints, innocent love, and then somebody comes and takes that away, and it might be like a way that we like kind of like not justify, but try to like rationalize it, like why would so? Because I'm pretty sure everybody has had this point, like why would somebody do me like this, and I ain't
Mhm.
did nothing to them, you know what I mean? But just the way the world taught them, might is right, and that's how the natural laws of nature. So I think it might lean more towards that.
You have any thoughts on that, Hassan?
Yeah, it's not a shortcut. Like, well, it's free will, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we talked about earlier. You want to believe what you want to believe, right? Now, you want to do right, you want to do wrong. The choice is yours, even though
Mm-hmm.
you know what you're about to do is wrong or right. It's still your choice at the end of the day. But whatever decision that you make, there's consequences to that later on.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think it through, some people don't think it through. So, in the end of the day, it's real simple. You just, well, for us, you just believe in God. The
Uh-huh.
Muslim term means submitting your will to the Lord. So
Mm-hmm.
when I talk to some Christians, I say, you're a Muslim, they freak out on me. So no, I'm not a Muslim. I said, but the definition of a Muslim submitting your
Mm-hmm.
will, even your God is Jesus, but meaning you're submitting your will to Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, in my religion, even though you're not a Muslim like in Islam, even though you believe in God, that's a good thing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're on the right path. And second, you gotta live righteousness. Now, the righteousness that's between you and the Lord, not me. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we humans, we like to judge. man, you're not living right. You're not doing right. You're not being. We just humans. We like to talk. We like to judge. Forget what
Mhm.
the humans say. It's between you and the Lord. But what type of relationship is there? If you're living right, that's between you and the Lord. At the end,
Mhm.
everybody else is loud noise. Uh,
Mhm.
that's if you're not Muslim in the Islamic religion
Mhm.
outside of that's what we say. But yeah.
Okay.
You know
Um.
what, Trucko? I think the wrong question. I think we having an age old conversation with the wrong topic, right?
Uh-huh.
Because this goes all the way back to free will, philosophical people arguing about this all the time. I think the wrong question is now we need to make it more modern. What is normal? What is mental health? What is normal as far as mental health is concerned? And the reason I say this is because when you look like, well, I watch Joe Rogan podcast, right? They talk about the people that try that root. I think it's not. I can't remember what the root is called, but it makes you hallucinate. It's what
Salvia.
do you call it?
I don't know.
Oh my god, it's right at the tip
I
of
should.
my brain. I can't think of it, but it makes you hallucinate. And everybody that hallucinate talks about religious experience. They talk about jaguars, and then it's so interesting that jaguars, as ruthless of a carnivore as they are, will eat the root to get high. You like, dolphins get high, animals get high, and it's like that's pretty interesting. And I wonder what their trips are like whenever they because every person I met that's downtown, whenever they get high, they always have a religious experience. It's always about God, it's always about Jesus, always about the Father. It's like that just makes me think, because even with Moses talking about talking to a burning bush, if that was somebody today, how many people would take that person serious? Everybody be like, man, this dude is clearly off of his rocker. So
Mhm.
I want to. I think that's the debate to have. What is mental health like? What is there a connection between that and religion? You know what I mean? Because I don't think. I think people that believe don't have a choice in believing, even though they believe that they do. I think that their
Um.
brain is wired towards believing in something versus nothing.
So I would look at it not as a, I mean, of course it could be a mental health thing, but I don't think that's what it mainly is. I think a lot of times it's a personality thing. And obviously it's a culture thing. But as far as what I mean is personality is, do you have, okay, so let's just say if you're religious, right? Like, okay, let's just say I used to be somewhat religious. I'm not gonna say I was religious, but a believer, a Christian. Um, it's kind of like every day you have the choice to accept that, or you have the choice to pursue something outside of that. But I hate to say it like this, but let's just think of being married, right? If you're married, okay, you can be with your partner or you can see what else is out there. I hate that. I mean, maybe I shouldn't use that as a as an analogy, but what I mean is, just because that's where you are, that doesn't mean there's nothing else out there. That's the point I'm trying to make. And um I think wait, I kind of lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? Yeah, so personality. So you kind of ask yourself before you go on this journey, can you take it? You know what I mean? Is this something that you can handle? Because that was like a 2021 for me, like maybe the 2020 2021, where I kind of went through that process. And basically I went from Christian to deist. Deist just means you believe in God, right? And then now I'm agnostic. And I don't really think about it too much as far as trying to reason through it, because I just think that it's the information is not available. The information has not been made available to us. And I don't think that's something that we can know, because that's a barrier that we can't cross. If we were created supernaturally, then how there wouldn't be any like evidence of that. So it's kind of doesn't make sense to even, I'm not saying not it doesn't make sense to worry about it, but I'm saying is you can think about it all day, but you won't get any closer, you know what I mean, to proof or evidence of that. But I think I forgot. Okay, you were saying somebody was talking about choices, but I just wrote this down, right? um Science or religion, in a choice, right? We were talking about, does somebody choose, it's their choice to choose religion or not choose religion. But to me, I pursue knowledge of truth. That's what I'm in pursuit of. And as far as I understand now, I mean, science is the pursuit of truth. Does anybody disagree that science itself is the pursuit of truth? Because this is the thing. If science led you to religion, so you said there's some people that are scientists and they're still religious. Um, so does that mean that if science is real, right, shouldn't it lead you ultimately to truth? Is science going to deceive you? You see what I mean?
But it absolutely does. When you get like too extreme, like like gravity,
Mm-hmm.
perfectly makes sense. Physics makes sense, but then when you get to quantum, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more we learn about science, the more it might like contradict itself. So
Mm-hmm.
because we're seeking, if truth is what we're seeking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not absolute, well then you're gonna like it's just the same thing with the God argument. You're never gonna really know. And then I mean, if you do get to a point where let's say we get to like 30% of knowing most things, that
Mm-hmm.
society right there is extremely advanced. And how will they even look at it? I mean, just I don't know. It's I think they call it the God of gaps argument, where
Right.
you just always put in place God where your limitations are. But science is has limitations too as well.
Mm-hmm. So would you? I'm gonna. Oh no, Hassan. No. But anyway, I was just about to ask him. But do you believe that science is the pursuit of truth?
I believe that science is the language of the universe. And I think it's a good thing. Like it gives you good tools of how to think rationally about things, about the
Mm-hmm.
natural world, and even your regular life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You able to just when somebody's lying, you're like, man, come on, you. It's just like they have people that study that. They study facial expressions. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
our language is nonverbal, so it just makes it don't make life easier, but it makes you like not hold stuff so personal. You know that there's bad people out there. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
always just look for the good in somebody. It's an easier tool for me to get through life, science and being scientifically literate. Can't nobody just piss on me and tell me it's right.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna say I love science because it's a field, but I like science a lot. It's a very useful tool.
Okay. But would you consider it the pursuit of truth?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, it helps you in your journey, your journey in life. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Okay. And that's why I feel that I think that's why I think the choice is not exactly where everybody's putting it, like the fork in the road. I don't think here you go, Hassan. Let me see. Okay. The choice, I don't think the choice is, hey, you get to science and you get to religion, right? I don't think that's where the choice is. I think the choice is probably a little bit further back from that. Like the choice is, are you in pursuit of truth? And the reason why I say that is because science is much more open ended. And if a religion is true, I feel that science would encompass that. Do you see what I mean? Because science is um, basically is what am I trying to say? They use a process to develop empirical evidence. So I'm not saying that it can't like come to wrong conclusions if you do something wrong. Yeah, of course it can come to a wrong conclusion. But what I'm saying is if science, the whole point of science is finding what is and what isn't, then to me, science should not be in conflict with religion if religion is the truth. So that means that if you are performing science in a valid, correct way, then it would ultimately lead to that religion. If the religion is true, they would have to reconcile in some point. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
oh, absolutely. That's what I try to tell people who. And you know what it is? It's the fear. It's the fear, Chaco, that they think that science may disprove something that they believe, so that they grasp upon it and make it a science versus religion. Well, this is faith, so you just throw faith in there. Well, I don't know. I don't have any evidence. It doesn't go through the scientific method, but I just want to believe. They say choose to believe, but they really mean I want to believe because
Hmm.
it doesn't have to conflict. if God is real and he created all of this, well, then science will prove that God exists. Especially
Mhm.
whenever a lot of the scientists are religious. They look at it in terms of, oh my gosh, I look at E equals MC squared. That is proof that God exists. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They don't be like, oh no, it can't exist. And they're conflicting with each other. So I get exactly what you're saying.
You have any thoughts on that, Hassan?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, there's nothing wrong with science. But remember, there's got to be a limit on that because you can't play God. You know, there's religious scientists. You know,
Mhm.
but just don't play God. And some, not all. You know, they start playing God and stuff. But there's nothing wrong with science. I have no problem with science.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
yeah,
When
So
you
do
say playing God, you mean like cloning?
yeah, like cloning or like stuff like that. You know, like we got to draw the line. Like, whoa, that's too much.
Mhm.
Yo, to his point, Chucko, science is the quest of truth, but like I said, it's ever growing and it's always changing. And
Mhm.
when this little thing that we call capitalism it perverts science. Like for years when I was a kid, they kept telling us global warming wasn't real, and
Mhm.
like I ain't had a real winter in Texas in probably like 7 years. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's been hot all year long. So
Mhm.
yeah, I agree with him 100% that you have to put like guardrails on science because even the AI stuff that's just risen, like it's so crazy to me. That's like I feel like scientists too are so socially awkward because they spend so much time. You know, this is me stereotyping them, but it's like, do y'all not watch any movies? Like
Mhm.
I, Robot is a movie that has been around for a long time. Why are y'all creating AI with the ability to think? They're better than us. Like we take our brightest stuff and our brightest minds and give it to them, and they're like, oh yeah. So what else you
Yeah.
got? You're like, are you serious? Y'all are about
Terminator.
to unleash this on the world?
Wait, Terminator and 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yep. But I think what I'm okay, Hassan, you posted a video. Let me see. But let me say one thing. So when I say science, I'm not. I know. I guess that's a very broad term. But when I say science, I'm referring to the process of discovery. That's what I'm referring to. As opposed to like how people use the discoveries. I'm talking about the process of discovery. So, Hassan, here's my question. Um, is do you think religion is part of the realm of science, or do you think science is, I guess, contained within religion? Meaning, is religion something that stands apart from science that doesn't have to play by the rules of science, or is religion um, uh, a part of like something that science it can explain, like a part of the natural world? If that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, religion is part of science is part of religion because
Okay.
in our religious holy book, there's like a even scientists were blown by it and like like this how to use it? What's the word? Perfect word to summon it all up. Yes, there is science in religion, you
Mm-hmm.
know, so it does exist. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
on the earth, how is made, blah blah blah. I don't know. There's a word for it, but I don't know how to say it in English language. But yes, to answer your question, yes, science is in religion.
So, do you think religion stands apart from science? Like, does religion have to play by the rules of science, or can religion violate the rules? I don't want to say violate, but you know what I mean. As far as like what we know, as far as how things work in the natural world, does science? I mean, does religion have to abide by that, or does it stand apart from that?
No, because with this, like a brownie laughing. No, but with the science, we say first is God. So meaning God created everything, right? That everything in the heavens and the earth and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord gave us the brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So science and like boxing was saying earlier, it can be can science deceive you? Can scientists deceive you eventually? Yeah, just like a magician, you know, they can deceive you. Just like the devil. That's why you got to draw the line. Like, wait a minute, this is going way too far, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to science, there's got to be, you got to draw the line, you know, like, whoa, now you're playing God, now you trying to be God. It's like when, you know, like governments, they're trying to play God, like, whoa, you drawing, you get, you know. So there's got to be, you got to draw the line somewhere eventually. But
Mm-hmm.
my bad. But you see the stuff I put for you in the back.
Yeah, this is you put something
So
in the.
the first one, just real quick, the first one is gonna show you how to do thumbnails and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. You see the
All
word,
right.
but don't say it out loud. You see the word I put it.
Yeah.
They have a website for that too,
Yeah.
and they also have free versions of it, so you don't have to
Uh-huh.
pay. Just use whatever, and that channel is gonna show you how to do it. And the bottom
Okay.
one is about StreamYard. This is gonna show you how to operate and
Mm-hmm.
show you some stuff that you never even knew on StreamYard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Okay. Thank
those
you.
yeah.
Thank you so much. That's actually kind of relating back to what I was talking about initially. Is that there are so many things I want to learn, but it's like you kind of have to prioritize it. And I think I get overwhelmed, you know. So let's just say I want to know this, I want to know that, I want to know this, I want to know that.
Yeah, yeah,
But because because you can't live forever, right? It's you have to make a
yeah.
decision on what you want to devote your time to. And that's the part that's overwhelming to me, and why a lot of times I end up just not pursuing anything, you know. But I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to change that. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. It takes time. It takes time, you know.
hmm but
It-
oh yeah, so back to what you were saying. You said scientists can deceive us for sure, because scientists are people that have their own motivations, right? So scientists can definitely make mistakes, and they can definitely have deceptive intent. But I mean, as far as science itself, like as the process is intended, um, I mean, okay, let me see. Let me look it up. Let me look it up. All right, Wikipedia. All right, let me see. Science. All right. It says science is a systematic discipline that builds and organizes knowledge in the form of testable hypotheses and predictions about the universe. Okay, so um, they had a more simple one, a more simple definition before I clicked on it, which was, let me see. It says systematic endeavor to gain knowledge. Like before you click on the link, it says systematic endeavor to gain knowledge. Um, and that's what I mean. That's how I think of science. So I don't think I think people kind of maybe attach other things to it, you know, like you can attach for instance the motivations of the scientists that can interfere with your idea of what science actually is, or
Mhm.
just the limitations of our understanding, you know what I mean, all that. But as far as science itself, I just think, in my opinion, science is the highest thing that there is, right? Now, okay, so if there's a God, right, then God would have created science. So therefore, science, I mean, God would be the highest thing that there is. But what I mean by science is the highest um thing or system, what I mean is that everything in our world, it of course we can't explain everything in our world right now. We're never going to be able to explain everything that goes on in the universe, right? But my point is, there is an explanation for everything. We may not find it, but that doesn't mean there is an explanation for everything. And that, to me, that's all science is. Science is explaining, you know, what is, you know. So therefore science would explain God. I don't know, it just depends on how you think about it. You can think.
No, I mean, real well. The way we look at it is like, and I agree with you. There are some stuff out there than something that don't need explaining. Like it's like the unknown. Only God knows. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like like let's take it as human. Like some things like mind your own business. You don't need to know this
Mm-hmm.
type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like some things are better not to be known. Is like the unknown. That's only for the Lord to know.
Okay, can you give me an example? That's very, very interesting to me. But can you give me like, I don't know if do you have any examples, or I never heard anybody say that before, that some things are not for our knowledge. And you think that maybe the fact that people are exploring it, is it going too far, as far as like, okay, well, since it's not in the holy book, then it's not for us to know? Or how do you feel about that? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
The best example I can give you, damn, what would be a perfect? Okay, like everybody wants, not everybody, but a lot of people wondering what day we're gonna die,
Uh-huh.
or am I going to hell and heaven? Right. Well,
Hmm.
that the hell and heaven, that's your choice. Like what you do on this earth is like your
Hmm.
deeds. Like whatever you're done, that's what you go with when you go to the grave. But you don't know. That's why people pray. They keep praying. Um, like you don't know when you're gonna die. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. You don't know what's gonna happen in 1 hour, even though you already planned out the day, but doesn't mean it's gonna go the way that
Hmm.
you want it to.
Okay.
So people can, a family member, a stranger, a friend can come and disturb it, right? Even
Hmm.
though you planned it out, it can go. So there's some things like you don't know. You just go with the flow.
Hmm.
What's that? And there's some things, how you say, leave it as be. Don't push your luck. You know,
Hmm.
it's like in other words, f around and find out type of thing.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Hmm. Um, yeah.
but yeah, but people wonder. So it is what it is.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yo, Chaco, check this out.
Uh-huh.
You remember I was talking about mental illness, and I was talking about the religious experiences and stuff like that, and how
Yeah.
most of the people downtown, that anytime they have a trip, it's always, you know, we talk about God, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, we produce a natural level of DMT, and DMT is a drug that makes you hallucinate, and it's
Hmm.
what you produce whenever you pass away. So it
Hmm.
don't even matter if you live a clean life, you're gonna get high before you die. That is the
Yeah.
crazy, like, ironic part about life. But I think that has something. I think one of the movies, I think it was like, I can't remember, Lazarus Effect. They basically used that little, like, fact about life, and said that the DMT is how you're supposed to use to cross you over to the spiritual world. But I
Yeah.
just think there's something in our brains, that is associated with that. Whatever region of our brain that is responsible for religion, I think, is also responsible for us getting high, or whatever the case. There's a correlation between all those. Science always say it ain't always correlation and causation ain't always together, but I think it's something there. If they look into it, they'll find something there.
Um, wait, you mean like, wait, what are you correlating?
That mental illness,
Oh, mental
mental.
illness to.
Yes, I think most people are mentally ill. They just don't know it.
Well,
They
that's the
think
thing. If most people are mentally ill, then they're not mentally ill. That means they're normal. Because mentally ill,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So I think the philosophical question that they always ask is, "What is my existence? Why are we here? Is
hmm,
God real?" I think it should be, what is normal and what is mentally well, because
yeah,
I think most people are mentally ill versus mentally well, and most people want something to believe in, and I think there's a deep rooted correlation between the two. That's all I'm saying. Because, like I said, if you remove that, Hitler didn't believe in God. Bunch of secular people throughout history that were just effed up and sick, and they just replace whatever with that. So it's just, I think people have a need to believe, you know, and like I said, I think most people are not well, you know, versus being well. But I think we celebrate the well instead of and demonize the unwell. But really, there's more unwell people than well. I think that is the philosophical, especially knowing so much that we know about the brain now. I think that's the new where the conversation should shift more, in my opinion, because the free will always go back and forth. What is free will? Well, is
hmm,
it free will if I was influenced to get to that decision? Because I made the decision by myself, but how much it
hmm,
was me. Life experiences will make us
right,
make decisions too as well. How much of
exactly.
it like if life experiences can determine our choices, it still goes back to us not having free will.
Right. Yep. Yep. Um, man, that's it. It's just it's so much. There's so many directions you can go with it, and that's why I felt like this. I felt like talking about um the pursuit of knowledge versus religion was a good start. I think it's cliche, right? But at the same time, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I I don't know. I think of religion as kind of a limitation. Um, I see that you put some more videos in the back, Hassan. I'm gonna look at them in a bit, like when I get off here. But
Yeah, yeah. Real quick,
uh
one of them is a channel. He doesn't do panels, and you
huh.
can check it out. The boxing. I was just putting it up. He goes live Friday, Saturday, Sunday at noon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you decide to hit the link, just know one thing: he only brings up one person at a time.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm
So
listening, but
no, no, but I'm just saying, if this
yeah.
one day you say you know what, screw it, and you wonder like why he's not bringing me up, just one person at a time.
Okay. Yeah.
You just show him that you're a real person behind the stage. Just do this, and once
Yeah.
he brings you up, just turn off the camera. And
Mm-hmm.
what's cool about him, he lets you ask him the questions, and then
Mm-hmm.
if he sees it's a good dialogue, he might keep you up for 20, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
New faces, new people might come subscribe to you. You might subscribe to them, but it's pretty good. But check it out. He
Okay.
does. Yeah.
I'll check it out. But you know what? I think of religion as let's just say you're given clay, right? You have clay. Okay, so in the absence of religion, you can make the clay into anything, right? But I feel like religion, look at it as like you have a mold, and the only thing you can do with the clay is fill the mold with the clay, it is, I think it's cutting off other avenues of discovery and creativity. And I feel that it's the thing about religion is I feel like people are starting from the end and applying it, like they're starting from the top and working their way down, right? They're saying, okay, well, if this is what my religion says, then I have to apply that to everything. As opposed to science, I think with science, you start with a clean slate and then you go out and then you build upon the things that you learn, and then you come to a conclusion. Any thoughts on that? It's cool if you don't. It's cool if you don't. Um, yeah, so I don't know. Like
Repeat that, Chuckle.
I was saying that I feel that religion is is um is it's kind of like starting from the conclusion, right? You don't have to actually do any work to get the conclusion. You're starting at the conclusion that you were given, which is that, hey, whatever's in this book is what is the truth. And then you kind of work your way down and apply what's in the book to everything below it, right? Because you're putting the book on the top. But I feel that with science, you start with a clean slate. You don't start with any assumptions. I know they have hypotheses and stuff like that, but that's just for testing purposes. But with science, you don't start with any assumptions. You learn bit by bit, and then you just kind of build on what you know as you learn it.
Okay, so yeah, good observation. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. So when you talk about science, like I ain't in no lab, you
Hmm.
know, it's a collective. The other people that get the PhDs and stuff, they're doing the
Right.
research for me, and I'm just accepting and regurgitating it with dogma. That's the word you used earlier. But I
Hmm.
do agree with that. When you're starting from the conclusion, it could be a dangerous, it could be a dangerous viewpoint because that's why they spend so much time sending people to hell, even though they don't have the power to do that. They telling you, "Oh, you're going to go to hell because I'm starting from this point, and this point is telling me that if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell." Even
Hmm.
though it say God already knows every sin we're going to commit, they're telling you, "Well, no, I'm going to be, well, I'm the word of God right now, and you're going to do." So I absolutely 100% agree with you on that. Yes, that's a pretty weird viewpoint to start from. The end, start from the end and go backwards. You
Hmm.
know. yeah, so I agree.
Um, and what you mentioned, that's another thing. Like you talked about free will, and I guess uh, that's a philosophical question, and I really love philosophy, and I'm trying to get more into it because I love just thought experiments like that. Could how is free will possible when somebody else already knows what I'm going to do, or um, how is there a standard, or how can there be a standard for moral behavior, or whether a person is moral or not, if they all have a different experience, that caused them to be the way that they are today, right? So that was another thing I had. I mean, I had a lot of not problem. Well, yeah, I did have a lot of questions of problems with religion, and I just sat and thought about it, and more stuff was not making sense than making sense because obviously, people always talk about how, well, how can a person go to hell based on not being a Christian when they weren't raised as a Christian so you get to go to heaven just because you were raised as a Christian, right? But even if you break it down more than that, how can one person be deemed to be like a good person but they were raised like this? It's much easier for a person that was raised well and they didn't have to like go through certain things to be a quote unquote good person. You know what I mean? Because I think that we're basically vessels, um uh yeah, we're vessels. Like the world pours into us, you know, and then that's who we are. That's what I think.
Mm.
So to add to what you said, and it's crazy, Chaco. That's my favorite subject too, because the philosophers used to be the scientists, like they
Yeah,
were
right,
hand in hand. So
right.
they
Yeah,
they have like made great strides as far as humanity is concerned. But the idea of free will, with God, like somebody in the chat was saying that God gives us free will to make our mistakes, even though He knows we're gonna make them. And you're just like, wait a minute, that makes absolutely no sense
right,
whatsoever. Like He designed everything in the world, right? And kind of geared us towards finale in our life where we're gonna commit some sin, whether it be murder or whatever the case may be, only to condemn us to hell, like based on a beef that he has with the devil. It's like, what? Why not just smite the devil? Get him. He's the one committing all the sins. Why
and
let him tempt us? Like, so I get those type of arguments, but I think even you can always tell, and I never really get into religious debates per
yeah,
se,
yeah,
only
yeah.
because I know what it can mean to somebody. I'll give you an example, Chuck. I'll give you an example.
Right. Oh my gosh. Right.
Me and
Yeah.
my cousin used to stay up late night talking about the universe, like just some deep thoughts about like a life and black people. Just same stuff I do on my show now. We did it way before the podcast, but um, so she told my other cousin all of the stuff we be talking about, right?
Uh-huh.
And she kind of backed away from religion. And they had another friend who was 10 toes down, going to church every Sunday, praying for a husband. They went and told her. And I scolded them for doing that because
Right.
when they did that, she was depressed.
Right.
She was like she was question. I was like, why would you do that? Like, let her naturally come to these conclusions. Maybe throw a little bit here, a little bit there. But I felt like them doing that, it just shook up her, like I said, her paradigm and the way she
Right.
viewed life. Like sometimes when I talk to people, if I hear them refer to God as a he, I already know what they're thinking. So you think God is a man, so he has a penis. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
how silly does that sound?
Right.
God as a he. Now, if you talk about God, you say it, you got my attention because that means you done gave a lot of deep thought into the creator of the universe. He couldn't possibly be a male with male genitalia and fingers like and eyes like mine. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make any sense. So that's how I approach those type of conversations.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. You make a good point about oh, you want to say something, Hassan? Go ahead.
Yeah, the Lord is an entity, right? Not a man. Like what we like to say in our religion. No matter you can imagine God in your head, whatever you're thinking, that's not it. Not even close. That's number one. Number two, about the devil. See that when the devil disobeyed the Lord, he put him in the earth. Doesn't mean so. This earth in our religion is a test. Everything we do is a test. The devil cannot make you do anything, but the devil can whisper in your ear if you have devilish ideas or you want to do bad things to other people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a jealous person and you allow the devil get near you, he's gonna, how you say, encourage you, whatever, like, oh, I'm jealous, I'm hating, I want to harm him or her. So now you got the devil whispered in your ear, and then you go do the act, then he disappears. Now you look the evil one. Why? Because you allowed the devil near you. That's why you gotta like chase away the devil. Do not let him near you. The devil
Mm-hmm.
is your enemy, the biggest deceiver of them all. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is your so in reality, all the devil is trying to drag people with him. Like the end of times, when we go to hell and heaven. So the devil trying to drag as much people with him because he knows he already screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we do on this earth is a test. You fail. That's why the free will comes in. You do
Mm-hmm.
as you please. You're grown. You have a brain. You want to believe this way. You want to believe whatever you want to believe. That's your decision. Whatever actions you do, but just remember there are consequences. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I talk to some Christians, I said, you can't really say you gotta believe one way and the rest of us go to hell. Hell, it's like the Hindu, right? How is it their fault? All they know is Hindu, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all they know, right?
Right.
How we can we sit here and tell them go to hell? So remember
Right.
what I said earlier. Believing in God, that's a good thing. So you're on the right step. And two, live in righteousness. That's between you and the Lord. So if that Hindu or that Buddhist, even though you disagree with them, but believing
Mm-hmm.
in God, okay, maybe a different. And if they live in righteousness, that's good. The Lord will have mercy on them. Remember, like we like to say, the Lord is the most merciful, the
Uh-huh.
most forgiving, and that's true. But we humans, we like to paint the picture. No, my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
So humans are gonna be humans. So we
So
can't control that. But go ahead, my good.
here's my question. Um, does is that what the Quran says? Does it say that other people that have not been exposed to Islam or predisposed to another religion that God will have mercy on them, or is that like basically like you using reasoning to come to that conclusion, or is
No,
it
no, no. It is in the Quran. It is because
yes?
remember the we say the people, the Christians and the Jews are the people of the book. So
Uh-huh.
before, because we look at it, the Quran's like the last testament.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible came, the Torah, and before the Torah, that's remember what I was said. The Lord has created tribes and nations. So meaning the Lord has sent a prophet to each of those nations and tribes at that time
Okay.
about the Lord, and those how you say religious books at that time been burned, erased. Then the Torah came to the Jews, and then the Bible, and then the final one to humanity is the Quran. So we say those are the people of the book. Doesn't mean they're going to hell. Doesn't mean you're a Jew or Christian. Doesn't mean you're going to hell. Even if a Buddhist or Hindu, if you believe in God or you're living in righteousness, believe in God,
Mm-hmm.
and two, that's what it comes down to. That's between you and the Lord. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I gotta leave you alone. Even the devil worshippers, we know what they're doing wrong, but if they're not bugging you, they're not harming you. You can have a conversation, a debate, or whatever you want to call it. But if they're not, you gotta leave them alone. Let
Mm-hmm.
the Lord deal with them. Don't be
Um,
too nosy. But yeah,
so here's a question I have. Oh, the Boston Scholar, do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, no, I mean, I respect autonomy and people's right to believe what they want to believe. The whole thing with the devil and God war that nobody knows exactly how old it is. and then the fact that there were actual scriptures that didn't make it inside the Bible, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not a perfect document. And then I even it was a dude that wrote a book that called it was a story of Jesus. It was basically Jesus outside of the deity, like the miracles and stuff like that. And it was actually like interesting hearing about Jesus, the person. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And it basically talked about how like but outside the virgin birth and stuff like that. But it talked about how Jesus, they will refer to as your father, and they were like, oh, that's Mary's son, like that's Mary's son, and that was the like unique for that time frame. It just talked about a bunch of different things. But the guy that wrote the book, Islam, I believe his name, he's a Muslim guy. Most
Mm-hmm.
people immediately was like, "Why did you write a book about Christian figure if you're a Muslim?" They were trying to discredit him, and he was basically telling them like, "Because my profession is a historian, right,
Right.
and my
Yeah,
religion is a Muslim." He was like, "I
Right.
don't allow my religion to affect my profession," you
Right.
know but that book was really, really good. As a matter of fact, I never finished it. The older I get, I start books and I don't finish, and I get like three
Yeah.
fourths halfway or whatever. I just get busy. But that book was really fucking good. The little bit I did, I was like, oh my god. But I just think
but
that. Go ahead.
my bad, my but real quick, Jesus, he plays an important role in Islam. A lot of Christians don't even know that. Now, true, we don't say he's the Lord or the Son of God, but he's a prophet sent by the Lord with the miracle of the Virgin Mary and all the miracles that was given to Jesus. So I know who you're talking about, Mahdi Hassan, that wrote that, and I think the Fox News lady keep repeating it. He said, I went to college for this." Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, Jesus, Moses, Adam, and Eve, we all say prophets. Peace of pleasant upon all of them. And we in the Muslim religion, we cannot. They all got to be equal. No one's above. All the prophets are equal, from Adam all the way to the prophet, our prophet. Jesus, Muhammad, Moses. Solomon, even Mary. When you say the Virgin Mary, you gotta what we gotta say, peace and pleasant upon her, because Mary's a simple to women. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you want to look up the Virgin Mary. Eve, peace and pleasant upon her. But yeah, they play an important role in Islam as well.
Mm-hmm. Um, so I have a question for you, Hassan, and really to any religious person, and that is, what is your standard of proof? Um, and so by that I mean, so if you're a Muslim and you suppose everything in the Quran to be true, um, what? So okay, but this is what I'm saying. Like, let's just say you had never seen the Quran, right? Um, from a young age, and you had nobody like telling you that this is true, this is what you should follow. Um, can Are you in the position to take a critical eye at it and assess it and decide like, hey, is this true? Is this what I want to believe? Like, what is the standard of proof? Like, why is it true? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. And because when I was young, we asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to our mothers. We talked to the sheikh, aka pastor, if you want to call them pastors. You just gotta ask questions, and you have a brain. Put two to two. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is this even realistic? And people wonder. There's always wonder. There's nothing wrong of wondering. There's nothing wrong of asking questions. Doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
you're an evil person.
Mm-hmm.
So the in our religion, the Lord. So to prove the Lord created the heavens and the earth. Now we like to say the Lord is not seen, but we know about it. Now I can't just show you all the um this is God right here. See him? No,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. So, and our proof is the religious text that we have. Now, the Bible, the Torah, the Quran. You just read
Mm-hmm.
them, and some can now, can people mislead you? and trick you and deceive you? Yes. So that's why the Lord always says, ask questions, ask the people in charge, ask
Mhm.
the people that giving you the message. You can listen to it, but ask questions, you know? So,
Okay. So you
but
basically saying
yeah,
it's so it's true. So you believe it's true because it makes sense and because it's in the book.
yeah, it makes sense to me, you know,
Uh-huh.
because it, um, through life, even remember the science stuff that we've been talking about. Some of it is in the Quran, right? And some scientists proven that. That's why you got
Mhm.
to take time.
Yeah.
I don't tell people don't judge the judgment. Like, don't make your final decision. Take the time, take a step back, study it, learn it. You know, yeah, take the time and have on and. But here's the thing, though: you got to do with an open mind and open heart. You can't just
Hmm.
go closed minded. You know, because a lot of people are closed minded, and this is why religious talks they get heated because a lot of people are closed minded.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm right, you're wrong. That's it. Without taking the time to understand what the other side is trying to say, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I think what I've been mostly.
oh, and real quick,
Uh-huh.
and the most important thing is, and at least that they tell us, and other religious people speak to your best knowledge. Don't be adding stuff that you don't know. If you don't know, just say I don't know.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
okay to say I don't know.
Hmm.
You know, even
Um.
though you looked at crazy, but just say I don't know. But
Yeah.
She said, do your research. The Bible is a very old Bible that hasn't been proven. So this is what I mean, Choco Kitty, why it challenged somebody paradigm, because you and I both know that if you actually, most of the people that believe in what my brother just said, like, don't listen to what somebody told you about the Bible. Read
Hmm.
it for yourself.
Hmm.
Because I mean, to be honest with you, I can write down one statement and die tomorrow, and 10 different people will come up with 10 different interpretations of what I was trying to say. So
Which
how do
is
you
another
compile?
reason why I don't think it's legit. But well, I'm sorry. Continue.
So and with that being said, is that's why I don't really have those conversations, Chaco. I look at I try to read the room and I see where I get a feel. And
Hmm.
a person like that, I already know what they. We grew up in the black church. We know we seen those type of people before. They're not gonna question. No questions asked, no questions answered. You know what I mean? I already
Hmm.
know. They starting from, like you said, from a finishing point of I already got the answers. You know, and everything else is going to start to align with that because they're starting at a place instead of,
Hmm.
like what you said, when you're on a quest for the truth, it's ever changing. There's no one way. You're like, you matter of fact, we just remove religion. Just think about how you think at 20 and then 30.
Hmm.
That's growth, right? Your quest for your truth as you see it fit, life experiences, everything shape how you change. Your changes to life shape how you view life. So, I don't know why, people would stop at applying that to religion. Like I said, especially when the interpretation is different, and a lot of stuff in there don't make sense. And another thing I was gonna say is, he was right about the Fox News interview. He was 100% right. So the guy that was on there, he basically said something that a lot of people miss. Right? He said that older people didn't document history in terms of what we do. Right?
Hmm.
So Charcoal Kitty on October 21st did a live stream. That's documentation. They didn't do that. They didn't keep historical references in terms of like what we did. They told a lot of stories. A lot of stories were passed down through song. Like they would just perform song, but they
Hmm.
didn't look at historical fact as we do in truth. So
Hmm.
if they wanted to tell a story about Charcoal Kitty being a good person, they would say, well, one time Charcoal Kitty was walking down the street and somebody didn't have shoes, and she gave the shoes off of her feet to show that they were to portray you as a good person. You
Uh-huh.
know, was the story true? No, but it shows you in the character that you had during that time, and that's how they viewed history. So the people who take the Bible as a in a literal sense, he was basically saying it's not even doing it for the people. They're not doing it in a true sense that a true sense and tradition that the people who created it did, because they didn't even take it literal. So he
Uh-huh.
said the Bible's not to be taken in a literal sense.
Mm-hmm. Um, just me. I have a comment on something you said. You said there are things in school and science that don't make sense, but we believe them. So, here's my question to that. Or my response to that. So, as far as us not understanding something because we're in school, is it because we are not okay, so let's just say in school, you don't learn, you might learn facts, right? But the facts, we didn't actually research the facts. That was done by somebody before us that understands it on a much more detailed level. And then they, they did all kinds of experiments and they published the results in journals, and the journals were peer reviewed and stuff like that. So is it that we don't understand it because it, I mean, does it not make sense because we don't understand it, or does it not make sense because, you know,
I
it just
mean,
doesn't
look,
make sense? But
t-
let me say one more thing. But contrast that with the Bible. Is there another explanation for what's in the Bible that's going to make it make sense? What I'm saying is, can you compare? Does it make sense to compare the two? Because with science, you can actually go and do research and understand how something or why something is the way it is. But with the Bible, if it doesn't make sense, then what?
so
I don't think it's the same thing.
So a lot of things to unpack in that statement. Number one, I don't know about when she went to school, but when I went to school, we had lab, and you actually had to do experiments, and they would tell you why the experiment
Mm-hmm.
worked. But I think it's more telling that the argument to be used was, well, when you were a kid and you were told stuff that wasn't true, you took it, and you know what would happen? If you grew up with those mindsets or whatever and you said them, you would get proven wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a bunch of myths that we believed when we was a kid and we went out as a adult and found out, hey, that absolutely is not true. But why compare us as adults to kids? That, I mean, that's why I say I look at what they say whenever they're talking to me. Because if you go to a college campus and you have ideas that are that you can't defend, you can't articulate, you look like a fool. Like you can't just say anything. You would look like Waterboy. You remember on Waterboy when he raised his hand, he said, "Mama said alligators are aggressive because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush." You would look kind of like that. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we were told outside of lab because we had more than one subject, and they would get dispelled as we got older, and we would be like, "Damn, I can't believe I really believed that."
Mm-hmm. That's why I think the beginning of any discussion about knowledge and the pursuit of knowledge, I think that religion, it has to be put in its place. And what I mean by that is, I guess what I'm saying is, I think that religion can be an obstacle to the pursuit of scientific knowledge. Um, Obviously, if you believe that your religion is the truth, then you don't think it's going to be that your religion is going to be an impediment to the truth because you think it's or you believe it's a source of truth. But what I mean is that there's a lot to learn out there, and a lot of it is going to contradict with religion. So um I feel like religion is something that you're gonna have to decide at the beginning of your journey. Hey, is this um is this what I'm going to hold as superior to all? And am I going to reject new information that suggests something different? Or am I going to take everything that it as it comes and give it a fair assessment and then come to my conclusions that way? So um yeah, I don't know, like, would you say that's true, Hassan? Would you say that's true? Like, say if you're embarking on a journey of like scientific discovery, you do you kind of have to know going in that, hey, if something is in agreement with the Quran, then I'm going to believe it. But if it's not in agreement with the Quran, then I already know that I'm not going to believe it. And if that's your mindset, then are you really embarking on um a quest for like knowledge?
Well, it depends on the person, what they're going, why they did what they're doing through for the research, right? Do
Mm-hmm.
they have good intentions or they have bad intentions?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I'm freezing. Yeah, it depends on the person. If they have good intentions or bad, and there's nothing wrong with learn. Like, how many stuffs that I heard from different people, different religious, different background. Doesn't mean I hate you. We can have a disagreement. Doesn't mean I look at you funny.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I look down on you. I'm this better than you. No, you're looking for the truth. Whatever your truth is, that's your truth. And if this is how you really feel, and this is what you want, hey, go for it. But remember, you got to go in with an open mind and open heart when it comes down to these conversations, so you can have an honest conversation. If you're closed minded, then you can have like a biased conversation. It's not gonna go nowhere, especially when you're dealing with with an ignorant person. But it
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. You
Um,
know, people people need to be open minded.
mm-hmm. I think it was really interesting something that you said earlier. The Boston Scholar, you said something about taking away somebody's religion because when we think about, like, remember I mentioned that when I um ceased to be a Christian, I considered it a loss. You know what I mean? Um, and I hear what you're saying as far as like doing that to somebody, as far as their like mental state, their emotional state, and just taking away their security and stuff like that, and whether that is a moral thing to do. Because there's somebody I know, um, she she kind of got into what is that stuff called? Jehovah's Witness. She got into that, which I don't have good feelings about. But this person I'm talking about, her mother, like, what we're trying to say, her mother killed herself when she was like about two. You know what I mean? When the person was about two when her mother did this. So I remember that this person, she told me that um she was going through a lot, actually during the same time that I was, and she was thinking about stuff like her mom being in hell and stuff like that. But then these people, I guess they came along, and I mean, who, me? Just me? I mean, you don't know who I'm talking about. I don't know. Like, you don't know who I'm talking about. Just me. How can we talk about anybody?
Why not bring up specific? You know that person? Are they trolling?
They ain't just me. My bad. Well, you make me feel like I gotta hide the live now. I should have said that, yo. But I don't know. I do talk too much. I do talk too goddamn much, though. I talk too much. But my point is that I feel like they came along and told her what she wanted to hear, and kind of like she went for it. You know what I mean? Well, no. So just me. That's the thing. This was before she became a Jehovah's Witness. So that's what I'm saying. Hey, Gabe. So I guess she was thinking in a Catholic mindset. So what I'm saying is that she went towards Jehovah's Witness because they told her kind of like something that comforted her. And so me and her, we didn't fall out. I didn't have an issue with well, I do have an issue because you don't want somebody to have their mind taken over by a cult, right? You don't want that. Um so just me, well, I'm not even gonna ask you, that's personal. All right, so but my point is, so I had a conversation with her because I feel like she's an intelligent woman, right? A highly educated woman, right? So I just felt like sometimes people can take advantage of you when you are weak, when you are having an emotional need and stuff like that. They can prey on you, especially if they feel like you got money, you know what I mean? So, um, I mean, I tried to kind of like talk sense into her as far as like why the shit was not legit, But the thing is, I can't say everything I'm thinking. But I said a lot though. I said a lot. Um, but I think that resulted in a rift between us, Um, to this day, I feel like that caused a rift between us. And so I gotta ask myself, number one, was I wrong to try to take away her peace of mind, And two, um oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. The second thing I was gonna say.
Well,
Uh
well, while you think about part two, I'll answer part one.
yeah.
Yeah, you was wrong. You was wrong. You
Yeah.
gotta you gotta let people, in the same way that you came to your conclusion on your beliefs, you got to let people naturally come to theirs because they might not be. There was a time where somebody would have told you this. It probably told you what you know today at a time of your life, and it might have
Yeah.
drove you into deep depression. So you got
Yeah.
to let people, go through the natural foes of life. But I will say this. I will say this. Because I just brought up a point that I wanted to address. Here in Texas, and I think Florida and other places, they're trying to put Bibles into the schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they didn't read about separation of state and church, but that's neither
I
here nor
don't
there. Uh,
nobody
but
knows what's going on right now.
but I think that is crazy to me and foolish. Somebody brought up a point, during because listen, prime example, Choco Kitty, prime example. I can't remember if it was this month or last month, but people thought the world was going to end. Remember that?
Mhm.
Everybody was doing TikTok saying that this is how stupid people are. This is just, I can't believe how unbearably dumb human beings are at times. They started giving away their earthly possessions to go be with God. Just keep
Mhm.
them. If God comes, you know what I mean? It's a bonus. You were right. Why do you have to sell your car? And what is the
Mhm.
person with the money going to do with the car if God is like just so idiotic? It's unbelievable. But that just goes to show you that people are, even though we keep getting advanced and more advanced, that we carry a lot of society is carried the dumb people through
Mhm.
modern science and medical advances, and which is the same umbrella. But we've carried a lot of people because people are just, it doesn't make any sense. Why are we gonna go into the classrooms where education, we're already getting our ass kicked by other countries, right?
Mhm.
And invoke the Bible. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like what progressions are we gonna have as a nation by invoking the Bible? You can't say morals. Look at what we're doing on a grand scale of things. Look at the people who say that they are religious. Look at what they're doing. So it
Mhm.
can't be morality. And it's like, what else do you have to offer? And somebody made a great point. They said that they think that religion is dangerous for our country because they justify all of their actions and they have no sense of urgency to make the world a better place because they think that there's a life after this. So there's no
Right.
urgency. I could do
Right.
whatever I want to. I could be forgiven by God. God, I'm the hand of God. So we could drop
Right.
nukes on other countries. Like just crazy stuff.
Wait. You said something so important, and this is that comes into play with like when you're talking about race, right? Because you got to think about it. Like if you know a group of people historically, it never meant you any good, right? So they're not going to tell you something to try to help you. So if what they're telling you is you don't need to worry about this life, what does that do? That disarms you, that placates you. It makes you feel like you shouldn't have to worry about fighting, you know what I mean? Or that fighting is wrong, you know? Um, and I remember I was driving. I was home in New Orleans. I was driving. We was going towards the east, and I saw this new building. There was this new building coming up, and so my little brother, he was like, "Oh, what they putting something up right there?" And then we got closer and we realized it was a church. And then my brother was like, oh man, he was like, he was disappointed because it's like that's all you can think of to build, what I mean, in the middle of like a black neighborhood or a black part of town. Like, what is a church gonna do for anybody? It's just a place for people to go and socialize and pretend they're better than other people and give away their money. That's it. You know what I mean? That's all it is. And it is disappointing when I see a black person use religion in lieu of using their own reasoning and mental faculties, because I don't know. I just feel like it's a way.
Well,
Oh, let me put it like this. Y'all. I told my friend it's like her doing what she was doing and just making the choices that she made. That's one thing, because there are people that came before her to make sure that she don't have to worry about the other stuff. She don't have to worry about the other stuff. The other stuff is in place for her. Now, when you have a black person doing that shit, it's way more harmful, for them to be neutralized and disarmed, because instead of them working on making sure them things are in place for themselves and for their community, they're saying that, hey, well, I don't have to worry about that because none of this matters. Only thing that matters is God in heaven. You see what I mean?
yeah, but real quick, not everybody says I'm religious and God fearing. Don't mean is actually true.
Right.
Because wait, so your actions are completely different. Because some people religious by tongue, not by heart. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like they say the right things, they telling you what you want to hear, but their actions, their heart is somewhere else. They got evil intentions.
Right. Right. And I think there are maybe like a couple of different types of people when it comes to religion. There are the people that are sincere, and then there are the people that are taking advantage of those that are sincere. And I don't know if those people were, the people in charge, I don't know if they were sincere at one point in time, but they just saw how powerful that they could become with their position and how much money they could make with their position. I saw a video yesterday. It was, oh man, it was maybe it was today I saw it, but it was some pastor, something Winans, I forgot, but something Winans,
I
right?
seen it.
And
I seen it.
yeah. She basically came up and gave the church $1,235, and he scolded her based on her not giving $2,000. Now,
Damn.
this is I don't know. That's why I'd be like, how am I really that different from the average person? Maybe that's not the average person. I don't want to think that's the average person. Like, that they would be. Man, like, I just don't understand. I don't fucking understand. Like, I don't understand. Is this really a need for a God, or is this a need for acceptance from the people around you? You know what I mean? Or a need to try to look good in front of somebody?
All the
Like,
above.
how did they get to the point where they're being scolded for giving money to a church? How did that happen?
All the above. I think it's all the above. I think I look at it like this, Chaco. You know, science will give you the rationale where you rationalize things, but it doesn't make you feel good all the time. Even if you take a
Right.
situation where logically you're behaving erratic or whatever the case may be, still doesn't make you feel good about the situation. So religion gives you like that aid, like that little crutch, that it's a
Yep.
God, it's a being out there that supports you, that's there for you, but it makes you feel good. You know what I mean? Somebody brought up in the chat, they brought up hope. So that's something you can't measure with rationale and science. So people lean up towards that. And then you also got the social conformity. But I noticed something about, remember the dude that
Yes.
locked the dope. You remember, I noticed something. It's women. The churches, especially black churches, are geared towards the women, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they tell them like, keep praying, you're going to find your husband and stuff like that. When ain't even that many eligible bachelors in the church. Like a
Right.
lot of them are gay men and men that are already married.
Yes. Oh my
So
God. Let me tell you. You know what's funny? Now I shouldn't have said this at work, right? I should not have said this at work. But okay, so there was this white lady that I used to work with. She started the conversation. She started talking about church. I think she was trying to get my opinion on like, different, LGBT people in the church and all that kind of stuff like that. But she got offended by what I said, of course. It's like I should have just, I don't know what I should have said. Probably should have just like, oh, I don't, blah, blah. I don't know. But my sister told me only talk about work at work. So the first thing I said was, now I don't know, like I'm not an expert on the Bible, I'm not an expert on Christianity, but my response to that was I feel like she was saying that the church she went to had like the first gay something pastor or whatever, something like that. And she was trying to get my opinion on that, and I just felt like so I feel like nobody has control over whether they're gay or not. But the thing I didn't get was how you go into a religion and you try to like change the religion to conform to yourself. You see what I mean? That's what I felt like was happening, because God doesn't say, well, I don't know. I'm not saying something is wrong with even going to church if you're gay, but we all do things, right, that are where nobody's perfect, right? So I'm not gonna get in the front of the church and just like, I don't know, tell people that it's okay to fornicate or whatever the case may be. I'm going based on the Bible or my understanding of the Christian religion. So the way I looked at it was, okay, it's one thing to be this or do this, but it's another thing to put it on display and say it's okay, right? But that's just based on my understanding of the Bible, because I don't think that anybody has any control of whether they're gay or not. So I'm not saying that anything is wrong with that. I'm not speaking on that. I'm just talking about how the fact that if somebody might have an issue with something in a religion, and so they kind of like warp the religion to fit what they want it to be, you know what I mean? But the other thing I said, this is when she got mad, right? She got mad. She didn't tell me, but she told like, I don't know, she told like the manager or something like that. So I just say a lot of those black men in church are gay. Like most of them are gay. You know what I mean? And this is the thing. She got offended, but it's like, ma'am, you don't know. Like you're getting offended on the behalf of them, but this is not something that you would know about. You don't know. But it sounds bad, right, to an outsider. I guess she thought I was saying, oh, if you're a black man and you go to church, you're gay. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that a lot of those men are gay. But her having no idea what she's talking about, she decided that she was offended, and wanted to say something about it. But yeah, I just thought that shit was funny, because I'm like, okay, well, how are you gonna tell me? Like, how would you know? You don't know. That's not your purview. That's not something that you would know about. But yeah, I guess she decided that it was her place to be offended by me saying that like a lot of those black men are gay, and the ones who aren't gay, they probably sleeping with half the congregation anyway. So yeah, anyway, I don't know, I interrupted you to say that, but the part where you said that a lot of those men are gay, that just made me think of that. So my bad. Go ahead.
No, they definitely no, I'm Chuckle. I'm a veteran at this. I could pick up right where I left off. Been doing it for a while. But no, I was going to say that you notice that a lot of the churches are geared towards us black women and
Yeah.
single black women,
Yeah.
and it's the same group of women that donate to Umar for the school.
Right.
Like they
Right.
always will give and give in spite of their best mind or best judgment telling them this is not going to pan out. This is not good for you. Because I guarantee you, if he'd have talked to one of them sassy males, undercover black males, and told him that, he probably would have got his stuff and got up out of church or cussed him out flat out.
Mm-hmm.
She actually kind of felt bad about it. She was like, okay, I do better. You know what it reminded me of? And I was going to do this. I was going to take a clip of her, right, and that pastor, and then get a pimp and a prostitute.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what he said. He was like, hold up. This ain't enough. This ain't enough. You know what I mean? Like them pimps be. Okay, daddy, I'll go get the money for you next time. That's literally what I heard during that exchange. And I was like, this is just sick. This is sick. But they know that they got the respect of the women. I've even seen women who are married and give the pastor more like prestige over their husband or significant other. It's like, bro, what?
You know what? That kind of makes me think of something else. And I really sit and think about shit like all day. But that makes me think of like how the pastor or whatever, the preacher, he has power, right? But his power is insulated. He doesn't have power in the wider society, but he has the power that those black women give him. You see what I mean? So, but he's wielding it to his advantage, and using it to enrich himself, and feed his own ego. You know what I mean? But that's interesting how like we can create monsters. You know? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Just by
I mean, what was it, Lex Luthor? Power can't be innocent, or power. That's the mistake people make. Something like that. Like, yeah, people are gonna abuse power. It's just,
right.
I mean, and it's become to be expected. It's just like when people grossly do it. That's when you're like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like if I know that LeBron James, for instance, right?
Mhm.
LeBron James, one time was in traffic and he got police escorts to get him through traffic.
Mhm.
It's kind of expected. It's LeBron James, like
Right.
so nobody really would fuss about that. But if LeBron James used the same police officers to like destroy a file about him that had something to do with like sexual assault, well then we would be like, come on, bro, like what the hell are you doing?
Mhm.
And that's why I talked about when it goes back to what I said earlier. The more I learn about people and how they abuse power and whatever the case may be, I know that you have to have laws in place and you have to have some type of religion barometer. But I'm willing to make a argument that the people who are wielding the sword, like you said, will always bend it to justify every single thing that they do. And they couldn't possibly believe in the stuff that they're saying because they only want it to be. You remember on Friday? Oh, that was different. It's different when it come to them. They're gonna
Mhm.
hold you to this high standard. It's like, well, wait a minute, Pastor, what you doing with this money? Are you giving it back to the community?
Yeah.
Every
Okay.
cent and dime? Well, then he would look at you crazy for even trying to demand
Right.
something logical like that because he
Right.
don't think he abides by the
And
same
the
rules
wait, and
that
the
he put out.
president and the president has like 44 felonies, right? That's the best example to me. Is and I'm just like, wow, they never let Obama have a minute of rest. You know what I mean? But it's like this man, did you see that video that Trump put out? Um it was like an AI video of him flying a plane and dropping poop on the heads of the No Kings protesters. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
It's like it gets more and more bizarre. But I think all this stuff is related. You know what I mean? Like he's not a religious figure, but it just goes to show how much can be um excused, right? Like just depending on who you are, right? It doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense. Like how is this what he's doing? I'm not gonna get okay. I'm not even gonna talk about him.
Those that's supposed to be the
Look
the
up that
party.
video. Look up
That's
that video. And this is my thing, right? Why does he have the right to be ignorant as hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, why does he have the right to be ignorant as hell? Why is it because like it's just nobody gonna say nothing just
No,
because?
because people, for example, let's take it YouTube wise, right? If you're the bigger channel, more subscribers, people are gonna take their side, even
Mhm.
though you're on the right. Now, his love, he's the president. He got money, even though okay, he's full of BS, but they're gonna take his side because he got the money.
Mhm.
Same thing in YouTube. YouTube don't give a damn who's right, who's wrong, who's innocent. The majority are gonna go with the bigger channel. Now you might have your few followers, supporters, but everybody's gonna go on the other side because they got the bigger channel. I
I
mean,
disagree with that, bro. I disagree with that. So I get what you're saying in terms of YouTube. I do agree with that, but I think this might be a like way more a nuanced thing than YouTube because this is like a guy with no experience. Barack Obama would have never been president with no experience.
Yeah.
He could have never did that. He could have never said a tenth of the things that Donald Trump said,
Right.
and been elected. It's just, that party claims to be the party of morals and Christian values. That's the most. It comes back full circle. That is the party that's saying the Democratic people with their embracement of the LGBTQ and all this stuff is demonic, and they're gonna keep us close to our Christian morals and values. That same party, leader has 34 felonies, has sexual assault cases, has a bunch of. He's on video talking about him going into the women's locker room. That is the irony of it, right? They're so focused on transgenders and what happens in the locker room, and Donald Trump is talking about walking into a woman's dressing room while they're changing. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't make this up, and they just let it go. I don't think it's personality. I think it falls back to like tribalism, you know, and
Right.
people understanding that, you know, we were not born and bred, but we understood that numbers is how you survive. You know, that's what confirmation bias is, right? So, like, if my group has 20 people and your group has 2 people, and we were going to war back in the day, the odds will lie heavily on the 20 people. So, some people will suspend their own rationale and conform to the group just for survival. That survival mechanism is why people are all fucked up. Why I said we need to do more studies on mental health and what is actually normal and acceptable and stuff like that, because it makes no sense. Like right now, the state that the country in, I didn't even envision it to being like this crazy right now. Like you be like, what the hell is going on? Like, because in school, in my school, Texas is like I think second or third to last as far as education. But they did teach us a little bit about government, and I thought we had safety rails and guardrails to prevent somebody from being a king. And this motherfucker came in and just started doing whatever the fuck he wanted to, and
Yeah.
nobody said something. You're like the only
Right.
person. Like, am I tripping? Why is
Right.
nobody saying anything?
Please go find that video that he put out a couple of days ago. It's just like when you think, okay, so you know what? I'm not even gonna go there. All right, I'm just leave it alone. But yeah, watch that video when you get a chance. It's just you wouldn't believe this shit. You know what I mean? It feels like Mad TV. You know what I'm saying? Or Saturday Night Live or something. It doesn't
Yo,
feel.
Trucko, what would you think? What would you think God would have to say about Donald Trump if he died today and went before the pearly gates? You think he's getting into heaven?
I mean, so I don't. I mean, no. Let's just say if I believe, I will say no. But I don't think he believes in heaven. Like I don't know. Like, okay, could he be could he be a Christian? Could he be a religious person? Is it that he just has such an outsized ego that he thinks everything that he does or chooses to do is the right thing? Or is he, there's no way. You know what I mean? Which one is it?
There's no way. There's
Yeah.
no way a guy like him could believe in any type of God, deity, or
But
anything. I think he believes he's the deity. That's what I
they,
would truly believe.
but see,
Dead.
this is the thing. People can really like become so full of themselves to where they actually delude themselves that what they do or what they want to do is what's the right thing.
Yeah, but he does believe in the green dollar though. That's his.
And you know what, you said something interesting about Hassan. You were talking about, like, I think it was you, Hassan, but you were talking about how do I word it? But I forgot exactly who said what. But Gabe A said something like that the other day. He was talking about how people interact and how much that shapes, people's perceptions of right and wrong, just based on being part of a group and, wanting to be part of a group. You know what I mean? Like in groups and out groups. But all this stuff has been studied. That's a part of sociology, human behavior. The actual facts are so small in relation to like our attitudes and our cultures. You see what I mean? Because like you said, there's no way that Obama could do any of this. There's no way he could do any of this. So it's not about what is actually happening. It's about people's perceptions and people's reactions to it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, that's something I'm interested in as well. Like as far as aspects of human behavior and the things that influence us and how we will make different decisions, based on the circumstances, right? Or how our morals can change and bend based on the circumstances, and who's doing the thing that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Because I was gonna say those women that are in church that worship men, a lot of those women hate other women. You know what I mean? They just detest other women, but they create a platform for the black male. You know what I mean? That's why I was saying, I'm rambling now about, that's why I was saying like the power of the black male is actually insulated. It's not real.
Choco, not just the black male. You got to be more specific. The powerful black male. That's a difference. There's a
Right.
difference. Umar is that, people that are able to articulate themselves,
Yeah.
that stand for a quote unquote moral or righteous cause. They will submit to those type of people. They won't. Like I said, there are people out there that are going to church, and the pastor's word holds higher value than the actual man that's in the relationship with them, and and that's important. But when I was talking about the groups earlier and how people will suspend their individual mindset based
Uh-huh.
on the collective groups, I
Right.
think that's something that's in everybody. I think it just gets unlocked in more people than it should, because you hear people sometimes. I give you an example. There was something called the Westboro Baptist Church. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. Y'all
I
remember
remember.
those people?
I
They
remember.
they had a cult, and they were protesting at people's funerals, saying, and these were soldiers, and they were saying God hates FAGs. They were
Yeah.
saying that the reason why that America's so cursed is because and they would make a point to do it. And you listen to the little kid. I remember one time the reporter asked a little kid something. He said, "Well, God hates those people, and you could just shut up." And he was like, "Did you just tell me?" Shut up. Like, I'm sorry. He was listening to what his parents said and how they reacted, and that was making him react the same way. And
Yeah.
it's like people will do that in these groups. There's no way that people could tell me that these are really, really good times and that God is shining his light on America right now, and we are the beacon of hope of the world. They couldn't say that with a straight face. And if
But
they did, oh my goodness, that it just shows, like I said, the mental illness, that they're able to suspend their rationale for the group.
I think some people really are not using the thinking center of their brains. They're not using it. And what I mean by that is, one time I worked at a place. I would say it's in an area that's known. Well, I was told it's a kind of like a racist area. I could tell that the people I worked with were, pro Trump. You know what I mean? This was a few years ago, but I remember like when the day of like January 6th, um, one of the managers, he was walking around. He was like, "Well, they're not confirming, this today or whatever." But it was like he was excited. You know what I mean about everything that was going on. There was this girl, and she was like, I think she was like biracial. But I remember she said Colin Kaepernick was a piece of shit. The point I'm trying to make is that it was an echo chamber. People don't think before they actually do anything. People don't think before they talk. It's just, hey, well, and this is why, and I'm rambling now, but this is why I asked ChatGPT, are there is does the American flag have racist connotations at this point? And they did explain, yeah, hey, yeah, it does. And that's actually what turns me off about the American flag, because it's been co-opted and misused and misrepresented by so many people, like just on the internet and in politics and stuff like that. It's that to the point that it could really be seen as a symbol of white nationalism. I don't know what their obsession is with the American flag or with the eagle, but the point I'm trying to make is it's like they have a set of values, right? And it's kind of like, I don't know if it's some kind of agreement that they make. Hey, there's certain things that we're gonna do, certain things we're not gonna do. Certain people are good people, certain people are bad people. You know what I mean? So like the flag and the eagle, that's their symbol, right? Guns are good, right? Gay people are bad, right? You know what I mean? It's just,
I get
but,
exactly
but
what
you
you're
can't,
saying.
yeah, but you can't drink on Sunday, but you can buy a gun on Sunday. You know what I mean? Or
You know what it boils down to, Chaco, and this is the reality
uh-huh.
the reality everybody steps around, is that they think that America looks like them, and when I say they, I mean white people. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
They feel like that they look at Democrats or people who are liberal minded as traitors. That's why they always say, "Oh, liberal," because it's dismissive, right? So
Well,
they
yeah.
made it a derogatory term. That is crazy to me. They don't
So
realize liberals are Americans too, but they think that they're real America, the people that built this country. They had a whole party during when Mitt Romney ran against Obama, and they were chanting, "We built it." I'm like, wait a minute, what? The history books don't support y'all building any goddamn thing.
oh
What are
wait,
you talking about?
did you hear the speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial where the guy was talking about we built this and that and y'all didn't build anything? And you need to go look into that. It was Stephen Miller. Look into Stephen Miller's speech at Charlie Kirk's funeral.
Stephen Miller, the propagandist, Trump guy.
Yeah, I don't even know who he is, but I heard that. I was like, okay, like, okay. I feel like he's trying to throw shots. Like
No, that's
they,
Steve Bannon. That's Steve Bannon. I know Steve Miller. I just can't get a face in my head, but I didn't watch anything that had to do
I
with that.
mean,
That
well,
was so sick.
I didn't watch that, but I watched people's reaction to the his speech. But no, this is what I was saying. Like, yeah, of course you can. When you bring race into it, then people are going to group along racial lines, right? But what I'm saying is just the underlying mindset in general, where it's like to be a part of a society or be accepted in a society. It's like, okay, are these the bylaws? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay, this is the symbol. These are the rules. These are the beliefs. This is who's okay. This is who is not okay. But it's like they feel like they don't actually have to use their brain because somebody else is using, you know what I mean, using it for them, right? If that makes
Oh,
sense. It's like
absolutely.
they're outsourcing, yeah, they're outsourcing their critical thinking. They don't have to
Those
think about whether something is right or wrong. All you know is this group that you're a part of, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. You know what I mean? That, and you don't
those
have to think
people
any further than that.
those people, Chaco, they think that they're the most informed people and always the most misinformed at all times. No matter what level of you could put them in a room full of fifth graders, they still would be the dumbest person in the room. And they think that they're the smartest. They know everything. Oh, well, the Antifa, this, and that. And I'm not controlled. I'm woke. Well, how did you find this out? Fox News. What?
Yeah.
Fox News? But they think that they're really informed. But when you talked about the flag earlier,
Uh-huh.
most Americans, I ain't gonna say all because not 100%, but we grew up pledge allegiance to that flag. You were in
Yeah.
Boy Scouts, you folded it or whatever the case may be. Like, and you are American, but they don't consider you American even though you pledge allegiance to the same flag. And it always goes down to the idea of, like you said, white nationalism has
Right.
become synonymous with patriotism. And
Right.
anybody who complains about what their superiority is lying or liberal or whatever name they're going to throw at you to make you dismissive instead of a truth teller. But it always goes back, like, even when they talk about Christianity, like, they only talk about it as if God died and left them in charge.
Right. Yeah. But that reminds me of something I'm gonna say, but it's to the point where if you click on someone's profile, right, and you see a flag, you already know what they're gonna be on. You already know the type of shit that they're gonna have. You know what I mean? Like, say on Twitter or X or whatever, you already know just based on them having their flag what their talking points are gonna be. So yeah, I think that's interesting how they kind of co-opted the flag, and then they want to say, hey, you're not patriotic. You know what I mean? If you don't respect the flag. Yeah. So, but I remember I saw this meme. It was like a Donald Trump sitting in the Oval Office or whatever, and then they had white Jesus behind him, and his hand was on Donald Trump's hand, and like as he was writing. So they were basically trying to say, like, if it comes from Donald Trump's hand, it's like Jesus writing through Donald Trump. You see what I'm saying?
Yo, you watch the Daily Show, Chuck O'Kelly?
No.
You should watch the Daily Show. Jon Stewart does satirical news about Donald, and he did like, you gonna play a game? He was like, who said this quote? And he named a quote, and it was like, have mercy on your enemies, pray for your enemies, and stuff like that. And then he started reading quotes from Donald Trump, and the crowd was just like laughing because the Republicans look at him, like I said, like a deity. How the hell have you made Donald Trump more Jesus Christ than Jesus Christ? You can't make this up. Like, these people are mad. Like I said, man, I don't even know what. I think we all died during COVID. I think this is an alternative timeline since we're talking about science.
It's sick though. But you know what? I was in Bomb's chat the other day, and Auntie said something interesting, which I already, knew. I had kind of researched this before, but what he said is all nations eventually fall. Like the US is not exempt from that. And just the things that are happening now, we know that they are defeating the purpose of the democratic institution, right? You know what I mean? They're intentionally defeating that. So I'm just wondering, well, like, where all this shit is going.
Well, I'd say this to the all nations fall. Yes, nations have failed in the past, but I mean, we're more sophisticated now. You talk about modern science; those people didn't even know what like atoms were. You know what I mean? Like, and I'd say that what we're doing is not natural. You know, because you know, I mean, like you said, living like Greece, like
Mhm.
Rome. Like we got a bunch of examples of where they tried democracy and it failed on a grand
Mhm.
scale. Some would make the argument that maybe that's why we're seeing the chinks in the armor that we're seeing, because it's not natural and supposed to be here. But I would just say it would work. Everything would work if even corrupt. We always factor in corruption. It's our margin of error. We know
Right.
that politicians are going to be corrupt, but
Right.
on this scale, if we had never had Donald Trump, nobody would be like as outraged as they are now. Especially that second term. I feel like after he lost that first time, and the insurrection that he tried to cause like didn't work and they wrote him off, he came back with vengeance. Like he came back in and said, when I get back in there, I'm doing whatever the hell I want to. I don't give a damn what nobody has to say. And he's
Yeah.
exploited a lot of things. Now this is the sliver of hope that I would say, hopefully. I'll be telling my wife this because she was a Kamala supporter. So my wife even
Mhm.
cried after the election, like real tears. I was like, man, if you don't, but I told her this, I feel like after the Patriot Act of 9/11, that Americans have like forfeited their freedoms, which is crazy because they always claim to be so woke and so free, right? But they
Right.
forfeited they forfeited their freedoms and stuff like that, to where the government was, in our lives. And Edward Snowden revealed it, and he had to leave the country, and nobody even cares about. They haven't. Not even Donald Trump has ran on bringing Edward Snowden back, you know, as like a was a hero, and nobody talks about this, right?
Right.
And Donald Trump came in with no experience politics and said, "I'm going to be an outsider. I'm going to drain the swamp." He didn't drain the swamp the first time. He drained it the second time, but then refilled it with salt water, because that's what
Right.
crocodiles like to, operate in. And you look at how he's operating; he's ignoring the Supreme Court orders and stuff like that.
Right.
And you're
Right.
just like, what the hell is going on? He exposed our American system that, a lot of the people who go to be politicians are actually friends. Like they go to the same schools. They know about each other if they don't actually hang out, because they're all elitists. You know what I mean? Like even politicians go to lunch together and stuff like that. But they have a basic understanding of the government, at
Mhm.
least to some degree, and they respect the Constitution. They'll try to use loopholes to exploit it, but they won't just flat out say, "I'm not going to listen to that." And that's what
Mhm.
kept the American system going, with the checks and balances and stuff like
Right.
that, and what we call politics. But I think Donald Trump has showed that it's a bunch of cracks in there, and we have to, fix them, or we're going to eventually have a person that's going to get in the office and say, when they say leave, he's going to say, "No, I don't want to
Mhm.
leave," and it's going to, I don't want to say
Probably gonna be
civil
him.
war, but it's gonna make America's gonna be in a situation then.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but his supporters don't mind that. He can
Right.
stay. Some people, I hear some people say, "No, let him rule forever until he dies or
Yeah.
passes away."
I don't understand what motivates Trump supporters. But that goes to show that democracy itself is a construct, right? And it's still made up of people. So in that way, sociology and human behavior, that's still supreme and paramount over government. Even though they try to structure it in a way that they wouldn't have to deal with the issues that they had dealt with previously, because of human nature. you know eventually, right, it's gonna become an issue, right? Because I read that maybe like the Republicans had never had, basically the power had never been this one-sided. So everything that was put into place to, for checks and balances and stuff, that's kind of like failing at this point in time. You know what I mean? So who knows? You have anything else you wanted to say, Hassan? I hope we're not like stopping
I
you.
don't know. I'm enjoying the convo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bad. It's really bad. People need to wake up. But the same. And Trump hasn't even finished 1 year yet. That's what's
Right.
crazy about it. He,
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't even completed 1 year, but that's politics. And if things don't change, it's gonna get worse from here.
Mm-hmm. I read that, or my sister told me that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like when she was sick, that she should have like left the Supreme Court when Obama was still president, because she ended up passing away, and when she passed away, that um that gave Trump the opportunity to put in who he wanted instead of Obama choosing somebody. You see what I mean? In her place.
You know why I disagree with that, Chucko?
Why?
Because in normal circumstances, when you're trying to play the actual game of politics, absolutely, right? Because you want, but when you're talking about somebody that doesn't respect the rule of law, well, then it doesn't fucking matter who you got in there. They can make Denzel one of the Supreme Court. He's not gonna obey. So
Mhm.
I agree, but I disagree at the same time. You know, there was this lawyer I found on TikTok, and she talked about how she spent her entire life studying law, and she has these conversations, and she brought a very interesting point up. She talked about how the Supreme Court agrees with everything Donald Trump says because they don't want to look bad to the public, like they have no power, because they can't. If he doesn't obey
Right.
it, they don't have
Right.
an army that they can just go be like, all right, go get Donald
Right.
Trump out of office right now. So they, because they want to be respected
Right.
as the rule of law in the land, they just give him whatever he wants to because he's not going to listen anyway.
Right. Right. I, you know what? I think I did read that somewhere too, but that's a very interesting point. Because I'm not sure if it was Andrew Jackson. I read that they, some court said something. He was like, okay, now enforce it. Now enforce what you just said. You know what I mean? Um, because at the end of the day, right? I guess it would be up to the military to decide, hey, well, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. I don't know, but nobody wants to be that one. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be the first person to step out of line or out of formation. You know what I mean? Because you can
Yo,
step out and you can end up being by yourself, or you can step out and a whole bunch of people can step out with you. You know what I mean? So,
I remember when Barack Obama said that the Supreme Court are not elected officials, and one of the justices got extremely mad at Barack Obama and like barked back at him, and it's like, what the hell? Like I said, it just goes to show you like difference of mindset. You know, like these people are groomed to be politicians. They teach
mhm,
them that whenever they go to these elite schools. They
yeah,
teach them about, like I said, the games of politicians, the checks and balances, the intricate details of being a politician. Donald Trump has none of that training, and he doesn't respect rule of law. He's a guy that's been rich his entire life, So this is habit by now, doing whatever he wants to and get away with it. And the American justice system is a two-tier justice system, one for rich people, one for everybody else. So they kind of created this Frankenstein that we call Donald Trump, and then
right,
had the nerve to put him into the White House, and just that's why we can't be surprised at anything he does. If he came out tomorrow and said, "Look, we're going to bring back slavery," I swear to God, I would not be surprised.
right, right. And I think he working on it, or deporting us. He working on he working on it. He just got to work his way up to it. Um, I was about to say something. Oh, yeah. So that's one thing I did. Maybe this will be the first thing I talk about: the desire for people to be controlled. People are afraid to govern themselves, because I said to myself, why on okay, there are 8 something billion people on the planet. Why is it that somebody can be the president and then their son can be the president? You see what I mean? Like, what's the purpose of us being in a democracy? Like, we're not in a monarchy. So I'm trying to figure out what made this person's son a better candidate than anybody else. Did we have a president and then we have his wife going up to be president? Does that mean that we do believe in the idea of like a ruling class, or like a lot of cities are like that, they have like the Morial family or the Landrew family in New Orleans, you know what I mean? But I mean, that's on a smaller scale, right? But what do you think about that certain people are ushered to the top, and that the people don't have a problem with it? Like, why do we have anybody that's a shoe-in? Why don't they have to prove themselves? You know?
Yeah, because keep it in the family, and this in the family business. I think in the U.S., John Adams and his son Bush, and I think the Roosevelts were their cousins. But yeah, there is
The
uh,
Kennedys.
yeah, the Kennedys as well, and other families that I'm not thinking. The Clintons. It's just
Yeah.
in the family, it's in the DNA. Continue this family legacy
But we allow it, right? The people allow it.
because they give you the speech, and the speech is what you want to hear. I'm gonna fix the economy. I'm gonna do this for you. Blah blah blah. They make it look good, and people vote. Even though the decision has already been made, who's gonna win, and the agenda is already. This is what we want you to do, and you're gonna do it, right? But then let's put on the show. This is a show so we can shut people up. Well, if you complain, you voted, so why you
So,
bitching?
so do you think, or what is it about human behavior that we're okay with it? That's like us saying, hey, well, this family must be better than us if, you know,
I mean,
this.
the only thing I can say is like somebody being abused, maybe not
Mhm.
physically, or maybe mentally, but they're just used to it.
Yeah,
Even though you're trying to wake them up, they look at you as the bad person. You're there trying to attack them
right.
because
But
they're used to a certain way.
but it goes to show that people, most people really are followers, and they know that they're followers, and they don't have a problem with it.
And that's the truth. Majority are sheeps. So
Yeah, like we're, it's kind of like we're serfs or something. Well, we're not fit to actually, it doesn't matter our heart, it doesn't matter our education, we're not fit to go up and be a ruler or make decisions, you know well, since he was the president, oh, I guess his son should be the president too. I don't know.
I
I
mean,
just
I mean, then not right away, not in America. Just give it like a decade.
hmm
It's like how the Bush did it, a decade, almost a decade later than his son
yeah.
ran.
It kind of,
Uh, yeah,
that don't matter though, because it doesn't matter how long it's been. It's like there are 8 billion. Okay, so I'm gonna say in the United States, there's what 350 something million. I don't know how many people there are in the United States, but
yeah, around there, yeah.
it just goes to show that we can create constructs, right, to try to defeat um that mindset, right, of the dictator and the subjects. But that maybe that's just what people are naturally going to um
Because look at it like this, people fall asleep. What do I mean by that? Even though we rioted, we protested, we're
mhm,
anger. Next month we're gonna go back to our normal lives. We can't keep protesting every day and
right,
rioting every day, and they know this.
right,
Now they might give us a bone to shut us up. Oh, here, now shut up. Well, are we gonna burn our city again in 5 years? You know, so it's like a chess game. They know exactly what they're doing, and when the people get angry, they know how to shut us up. Like, oh, okay, here's a bone, stay quiet,
hmm,
and we're gonna go. We're gonna deal with this in the next 5 or 10 years or whatever.
yeah. I'm gonna I think I'm gonna go more in depth about that, about the human inclination to be a follower.
That's a good one.
um
But hey, this has been a great conversation.
yeah, thank you for coming up. Yeah, I need to eat something. Oh wait,
But,
Boxing
but, but,
Scholar coming back up.
but yeah, but check out the channels I put in.
Yeah, I
Check them
clicked.
all out.
I clicked them. I clicked on all of them, so they'll all be in my history, so I can go back and look at them. Thank
Yeah,
you.
only the lantern one that does a not a panel, but one at a, if you the day you choose to hit
Hmm.
the panel. But yeah, go ahead, my bad.
Okay. All right. Bye. Um.
Let
Yeah. The Boxing Scholar. I was about to call it a day. Yeah, because I need to eat something. Um. I feel like, okay, it's interesting because I feel like I wasn't that relaxed in this conversation. You know what I mean? Like I feel like maybe I feel like if I was on somebody else's panel, I feel like my thoughts would have flowed more freely, which is interesting.
Man, you overthinking it. It was a good episode. You never going you're never gonna see it the way it actually is. You're gonna always be in your head the first couple episodes, but
Uh-huh.
once you get maybe 5 months, 6 months of doing this, this is clockwork. It's just conversations. It's like back in the day we used to have 3 and 4 way conversations on the phone. It's no different than that. We're just doing it to the public. But now you did good. You sometimes I lose my thought mid thought thinking of eight
Yeah.
different things of the thought. Like so, it just I mean, it'll circle back. Nobody really notices it. Nobody gonna notice it but you because, like I said, you're gonna be inside your head. But now that was this was a good one. And we went different places. We talked about the two subjects they say you shouldn't talk about, which is religion and politics.
Mhm.
We talked about it. And nobody cussed each other out, so you're
Oh
already
yeah.
making
No.
strides in a great place.
Yeah. I was telling Hassan. That's my first time seeing Hassan, hearing Hassan, anything. You know how some people they always just like a name in the chat, like but just to see, okay, it's a real person. It's like it's
I've seen him somewhere before. I thought I've seen him over here. No,
no, I mean you seen him in the chat, but I'm
no, I've
talking.
actually seen him pull up. I don't know whose panel it was, but I've seen Hassan pull up before.
Oh yeah, well maybe so, but
But Taylor's, he pull up on Taylor's.
probably so. Yeah, probably so. But I was telling him that an interesting. I was trying to see, like, I was writing down ideas and stuff, but I think what's really interesting is the natural inclination of humans to want to be followers, to want to be led, and I think I want to look into that. I think that's what
They
I
need
want.
to. They need to. They need to be led. Human beings need to be led. See what? See the average person. I was watching a movie one time, Robin Hood, and
Mhm.
in one part of the movie he was talking to the king, and he was like, "What would you have me do? Give every person castles?" And he started laughing. He said, "Every Englishman's home is his castle." And everybody started laughing. In other words, like some people are okay with just living an average life, not looking up, not
Mhm.
debating about religion, just keeping their nose down, paying their taxes, and passing away and having kids. But
Mhm.
some people aren't. Some people aren't. And that's why I feel people will give their because that's what they desire out of life. They will sacrifice a lot to get what they want out of life. And that's just that, the simple things. So a
Mhm.
lot of people need to be led and they long to be led. Like they're always looking for a leader. Who's going to
Right.
lead us in our community, especially the black community?
That's interesting though, because then there are a few people, or there's some people that always want to be in power. I wonder what's the difference between those people. Um, and you know how they have what I call serial entrepreneurs, somebody that's always like selling something or making something. It's not that they are depending on who they are. These people don't even necessarily have skills, or you know what I mean. It's just that something in them, they always want to be like selling you something, or you know what I mean. Have you thought about that? Like
Yeah.
certain people
Personality.
that
It could be deep rooted. It could be as much as like a man who grew up with a single mom and always watched her struggle, never
yeah,
wanted to struggle, so they always hustle. Yeah. I agree. It's the argument of it goes always comes back to this: the nature versus nurture, the
yeah,
free will versus not having free will. It always goes because our environment plays a factor on how we see the world. There's no way
mhm,
around it. There's no way around that.
of
How
course,
you see the world was a series of events, genetics, all the stuff that goes into the cake. It ain't just one thing. So
yeah,
I think that most people, if you asked out loud, are you a leader or a follower? 10 out of 10 people gonna say leader.
right,
But you and I both know
right,
it's probably gonna be like one or two leaders in there, real leaders,
right,
And if you split the one or two real leaders in there, what are their intentions? That determines, how the people are gonna be led. I even see I pulled up to a panel and I could not believe this shit, Charlie. Okay, this just makes me like lose hope in just all like black people as a whole. But
hmm,
they were talking really negatively about Martin Luther King. And you're
yeah,
just like, I'm just like, bro, Martin Luther King was a man. He
yeah,
had fears like you. He had situations where he did not know what to do,
right,
just like you. Why are you holding him to this standard that he's never going to reach? And then why are you slandering him? He died for his cause. How
right,
many of these revolutionary Negroes online that be preaching every day? You know what I mean?
hmm,
How many of them are willing to die for something?
yeah,
But they
right.
slandering Martin Luther King. Like, I just like,
I don't
damn,
know. I
man,
don't
is it
take.
worth it?
I don't take these. I'm not even gonna use that word in this live. I don't take them serious. I don't take them serious. But I'm gonna do some research on that, like just the natural human inclination to be led. Because I was trying to think of something that actually caught my attention enough, but that I don't actually know about. You know what I mean? It's something that's not really cliche. And it's like I don't necessarily want to come on and talk about things that I already know about. I want to actually like learn, you know what I mean? And that's something that I wondered about. I've wondered about, but I just never knew the reason why. Like, what's the actual reason? And I want to do some. I think I'm going to do some research on that.
Nomsky talked about that. I seen a video a long time ago where he was talking about the educational system and
Mhm,
how, like, how it's geared towards society. Like even school, like they have a
mhm,
place called ISS, which is supposed to be like jail for school. You know what I mean? Like they
mhm.
condition us, like even going to school for 8 hours and then working for 8 hours. So
Yeah,
we're taught, and they basically either grind all the individualism that you have in you out of you through just system after system after system,
yeah,
or beat it out of you with the belt, whatever the case may be. Because a kid that is a leader that does his own thing would be a bad student. You get what I'm saying?
exactly.
If
Yeah,
he looked at the lesson, he was really creative, he was outgoing, whatever the case may be, he would be a bad student, and that's
right.
frowned upon. So he would get a whooping by his parent, and he would get scolded at school. So our
Mhm,
systems aren't designed to produce real natural leaders, which is crazy because I feel like our society would be better off if people actually lived out their purposes. If
mhm,
people lived up to their full potential, we would have less miserable people out there, and we would
right.
have a happier society. We wouldn't have haters. People hate because they feel like the system, beat it out of them. You ever seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness? And the little boy wanted to be
No,
he wanted to be a basketball player, and he was like,
no.
well, I wasn't that tall, so you might not want to do it. And then the little boy got mad and threw the basketball, and he was like, you know what? He was like, don't ever let nobody tell you that you can't do anything. He was like, even me. He was like, people will tell you because they can't do something that you can't. That's literally life. That's literally everybody in America. Because
Yeah,
they can't do it, they're gonna say that you can't do it. You
right.
know, because the system got them and beat it out of them, they gonna be negative towards you. So yeah, look up Nomsky. He has a lot of like
Right. Can
good
you
stuff on.
can you spell that for me?
Okay, hold on.
Okay. um. Yeah, I know the
Not
movie.
no, I don't know why I call that dude Nomsky. So it's
Mm-hmm.
NOAMCH. This is the last name, CHOMSKY.
Damn.
Chomsky. Called him
Okay.
Nomsky. I didn't combine his first and last name.
Oh, okay, okay. So that's two different names. I was about to say, God damn.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
that is, he talks about the systems and stuff like that whenever
Yeah.
you're born. But I just wanted to say this before I get up out of here. I want to
All
say to the
right.
brother in the chat. So yes, I do understand that guy talked about something being really, really tiny, and he alluded to people give him credit for atoms, but they didn't understand atoms back then as far as proton, neutron, and electron. And that's equivalent to me saying, well, they have life out there in the universe, and then eventually they find aliens and they say, well,
Right.
Scholar was right
Yeah.
about it's a shot in the dark. They didn't fucking know what they
Well,
were talking about. They didn't have the microscopes or anything. They were still
well,
dying of diarrhea back then.
well, okay. I can see it both. I can see both sides because um that I would say until before they had the ability to prove it, it would have fallen into the realm of philosophy, and actually I have this philosophy book. It's one of them DK books. It's like the big book of philosophy or something like that. And it talks about like the different ways that people explained like the world around them before they had the actual means to figure it out. And so they just used their reasoning. You know what I mean? In the absence of like empirical evidence, they use their reasoning. So I think that's really interesting too. But yeah, there were people talking about atoms and things like that. But I think the reason why I kind of see I see what he's saying because in order to come to that, right? It could be a shot in the dark, or it could be just that they really sat and thought it through and thought why other things didn't make sense or why this made the most sense. You see what I mean?
Well, he basically said that if you keep cutting something, that you would get something smaller. So he didn't necessarily say that there are atoms. So no, I can't. You can make the same argument for religion. You look around, you say there's intelligent design. There has to be a creator. If they actually find out that there's a creator, is that proof that everybody that believed in the creator is intelligent? You know what I mean? It's just like
I
it's a
kind
shot
of
in the dark.
well, Well, okay, so what I'm gonna do is I had that book. Well, I have a book that talks about that, and I'm gonna see if they talk about like well, the book they'll talk about the philosophers that came before that person and how that person was influenced by other philosophers and like what changes they made to other ideas that philosophers had. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's a shot in the dark. I think that it was probably a lot more organized and reasoned and considered than that. Um, but as far as I don't know, religion, I don't know, because then you still have to ask yourself, where did the creator come from? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, and then, you know what? I'm not even going to get on this subject. I feel like this is a whole nother subject, but I think there's a lot of stuff out there that our minds are not advanced enough to understand. You know what I mean? And so we might be looking for something that's actually right in front of us, but it's just, we are not yet at the point where we can perceive it. Just like I can't teach my cat about medicine. You know what I mean? I can't teach a cat biology, right? You know? But we think
Oh,
that we. Mhm.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that that was a to me a shot in the dark. Only because they didn't have basic understanding of anything. They didn't even have like a microscope where they could look at water, bacteria in water like we did when we was kids type stuff. So
Yeah.
like that was just a flat out just shot in the dark in my opinion. But that doesn't just be even with that being said, let's say it's not a shot in the dark. Let's say it was a rational minded point. He still
Mhm.
didn't have an understanding of atoms, and that was
Right.
the whole point of my conversation. That why would you listen to people who didn't have an understanding of the stuff that we understand? But I mean, to be fair to them, a lot of people don't understand it. Nowadays with the phone in their hands, they
That's a
still
choice.
don't
That's a
understand.
choice. That's a choice. Um. Yeah. Some people they just I don't know. I don't know what they're afraid of.
You know
Um.
what? I don't even know that necessarily they're afraid, Chaco. I think that people choose to give energy and time and the stuff they deem important, and they
Mhm.
don't deem scientifically being scientifically literate as important, even though it is. They even make fun of the people in school who are smart. They
Mhm.
make fun of them so because they don't deem that as important.
Mhm.
And it's extremely important, especially, and you're seeing the ramifications of that now. A society that came up that was scientifically illiterate, and the people who are smart get to do whatever they want. Elon Musk is an evil genius.
Mhm.
He's doing whatever he wants. He's creating robot societies and Neuralink and stuff like that. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. And you know, that's why we
Mhm.
should. This is why we got to start. We got to start being nicer to the geeks.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna.
All right, I'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hassan. Um. Yeah. What I had really wanted to talk about today was just the nature of knowledge, the nature of understanding, and things that can get in the way, mindsets that can get in the way, institutions that can get in the way. So, I mean, that's pretty much what we talked about. And now I have two things that I want to look into just as a result of the conversation. I want to look into the natural human inclination to be led, which I believe is a part of sociology. That's always been really interesting to me. And then also just the theory of atoms, like before we had the means to prove it, because this is the thing, the boxing scholar, if he's still listening, um that's kind of the whole. Okay, so I'm going to look into it, so I'm not going to say you're wrong, right? But the whole atoms thing, right? Science, part of the scientific method is um making a hypothesis, right? And then you go out and you test the hypothesis, but the hypothesis isn't just, hey, well, let me just make something up. You kind of observe, and then you see like, okay, what makes sense, and then you go out and you make your hypothesis, then you go out and test your hypothesis. Of course, they didn't have a way to test it back then. They didn't have the scientific method back then, but all that stuff is still part of logic, which is a part of philosophy. So you're basically, even though you do not have all the tools that we had today, like if they didn't have all the tools that we had today, but that's still making the best of what they did have available, which includes having a rational mind, right? And just to be able to consider things and think, okay, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. So if you think about it that way, I mean, you know I don't know, like that makes it even more amazing, you know, that um that person was able to think abstractly, right, in the absence of physical evidence, but just with his rational mind and taking what he did know and reasoning and getting to the conclusion that, hey, well, I think we're probably made up of something small and indivisible, just based on, like, you know, whatever, you know, I guess evidence that he had. But anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, and then we'll look into that too. Where the who I guess first came up with the theory of atoms and what that theory was actually based on. So, thank y'all for dropping by. I stayed on here longer than I thought I was gonna stay on here, but yeah, I didn't have shit going on at work today, so it's gonna be like that till the beginning of the year. So, all right then, y'all have a good one. Bye.